I'd like to call this September 11th, 2024 meeting of the Ogden Town Board to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd ask that you remain standing for a moment of silent reflection and prayer for military servicemen and women serving around the world, as well as for our first responders, especially today, this day, September 11th, 2024. Thank you. Well, good evening to you all. Welcome to today's town board meeting. We're going to start today, since there are no presentations or proclamations, with the approval of the minutes, resolution 225.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Baker, seconded by Councilman Hinman. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, we have privilege of the floor. This is a time where anybody that's in the audience that wishes to address the board can come and spend a couple minutes and speak with us. I do want to preface this, as I tend to do at the beginning of each meeting, that the board really has no obligation to respond. If they feel so compelled to respond, they certainly can. But typically we take down what is said, and if we can answer it and get all the facts in response, we will do so then. So just wanted to make sure that everybody has that opportunity to come communicate with the board and the expectation of a response right away. So is there anybody that wishes to address the board at this time? Come and state your name, address, and your topic.
My name is Aurora Reagan Fromm, and I reside at 115 Parkers Drive. First, regarding the fuel station project, I have concerns about triplicating services. The town already has access to WEX cards, which allow municipal departments to fuel up at any gas station at a set price. In addition, there are county municipal fuel pumps just 7 tenths of a mile from the town campus, and another pump located on the school campus 2 miles away. With these resources in place, I question the need to allocate. I have $380,000 to build a new facility and ask the board to reconsider this expenditure.
I'll clarify two things. Number one, the board does have an IMA with the school district already, so I'm not positive how often the WEX cards get used. I'm sure they're used often, but we have an IMA with the school district that's been around for a long time, so
The WEX cards are not used at the school district.
Right.
We don't use WEX cards at the school
So
district.
it's like a
Do you
separate
use the
thing.
school district pumps?
Yes, but we don't use
And
WEX
the
cards.
substation at the, on 259 as well?
The substation, it's electrical. So it's the only substation I know. The electrical substation
So when you need gasoline, you go to the school?
for gas, yes, we do.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. The other thing is that I think the resolution that you're referring to is to expend funds from a reserve account. It's not the total cost of the fuel island.
Next, I want to discuss the recent budget modifications in the town's drainage fund, which have been adjusted 2 months in a row. In July, a budget modification was made to cover a deficit in the engineer's personal services account using $3,425 from the miscellaneous revenue letter of credit account. In August, another modification was approved to rectify a deficit in the Social Security account related to wages for highway employees performing drainage work. An additional $3,105 was allocated from the minor sales, other revenue account in the drainage fund. 2 consecutive months of drainage budget modifications raises concerns about financial planning and transparency within the drainage fund. Are these deficits indicative of a larger issue? Is there a possibility that more budget adjustments will be required moving forward?
You want me to answer it?
Sure, I'll follow up.
The finance department was a mistake, as the earlier, when the budget was planned out for the engineer, there was a 5% fee that we charged for towns in our fees, and the fees didn't come in, so the money didn't meet the money at the same time. But there's a 5% fee that's charged to the builders of the town that also pays for engineering drainage problems.
So
So is the fee then around $6,000
The fee could be,
$30?
the fee could be anything. It goes 5% off of a letter of credit. So if a letter of credit's $200,000, there's a 5% fee off that. It gets held back for the town fee.
And you didn't account for that when you made your budget?
We can't account for something that's not there. We can't tell when a builder's gonna come into town and build something.
Yeah.
There was a building that was done on, Whittier Road that just got approved, last month. And that was, was talked about, what wasn't done. We can't force a builder. We got
So the
builders.
trend is expected to continue then? If there's no anticipation of costs?
No, if we can't figure out the cost to that.
Well, let me expound on that a little bit. So we charge so traditionally, when we needed engineers to go out and do inspections or whatever, they bill the town. The town then sends the bill to all the various different engineers, and then that is billed back through the contractor, and it was a massive amount of paperwork. And so there was a model in Greece of having this 5% fee that's applied. So if your project's $1 million, 5% goes to this engineering account. Clearly, we don't need engineers if there is nothing to build, so you sort of have to estimate what the revenue is, and then you take that revenue and use it as expenses. So this is really the first year that we've applied revenues to those expenses. So what you're seeing is a modification from one account to another, first of all, because you have to have the revenue in order to pay the expenses. But what you'll notice is that the total budget does not change. In fact, we'll end up with a surplus on the revenue side, and that is realized at the end of the year. So while you will see some budget modifications, which every municipality will have every single year, there's no new expenditure. It's just
And I
coming
think
from a
this is
different
where
one.
the community communication piece comes in. I do believe we deserve more information about the underlying reasons for these deficits.
You can come and look at every engineering bill
Anytime.
that's been submitted, and the
Third,
budget.
okay, I'm gonna go on.
let me just-
No, don't interrupt me, I'm talking.
No,
You
no,
asked a question,
no.
and,
No, I'm done, my talk. I can move on now.
okay, go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Colin.
Third, I'm requesting the termination of Dan Wolf's employment contract due to his inappropriate behavior, including hate speech, sexual harassment, and physical intimidation. While he remains an elected official, his benefits and town-funded resources should be reassigned to someone who upholds integrity and professionalism in their service.
Is there anybody else that wishes to address the board at this time? Actually, do you have anything you want to follow up on from that? Well, in case there was something more that you wanted to say.
No,
Okay. Anybody else that wishes to address the board at this time?
Good evening. Linda DeBardo, 110 Ogden Center Road. I just had a couple more questions about this fuel station. It's a lot of money, obviously. So was there a cost-benefit analysis done, and are we privy to that information?
Yes. I
Can
think,
that be
I think
included in the
Councilman,
minutes?
I think Councilman Toms can answer that question.
In fact, we did have an entire public works session on the results of that, but it's up to you if you want to.
Yeah, so, I mean, so far you've only talked about gasoline. The bigger consumption is diesel, which these other two stations that were mentioned don't supply. Wex cards, diesel is almost $1 more a gallon when you go to burned area or something like that. And the same is for gas. It's about 90 cents more.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So that's where they get the diesel today, is using the Wex cards at some other facility?
There or at the state across the street.
Okay, across the street, that's what I think Aurora was referring to earlier.
Oh, she said substation. I thought she was talking about the Argini substation.
So they go across the street to the Department of Transportation
Yep.
area there. and
The
get-
problem with that, Linda, is the state has reduced the size of their tanks to 6,000 gallons.
Yep.
And there's times during the winter months when we're plowing snow that we'll get a phone call, and my clerical staff is in the audience. We'll get a phone call from the state that says, you guys are done with gas, you can't get it here. We're low on fuel, you
So
can't
then
get it.
Use the Wex cards to go.
Then we have,
Correct.
Now, aren't the Wex cards, again, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine.
The Wex cards, don't they provide the same price no matter where you go? Like, because you're a municipality or government? Like, you don't get charged the $1 more if you go to Burn Dairy versus
Yes.
Sunoco, right? Isn't the Wex card the same price?
It's the same price no matter where you go,
Right,
but the average price of what we paid is still about $1 more than the regular price of diesel.
then, okay, fair enough, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and so in 2023, we used 24,432 gallons of gasoline in the town, or in the highway department, I should say. And we used 28,042 gallons of diesel. So our diesel consumption is quite a bit more.
Okay, is that average for like the past whatever years, is that the kind of an average amount?
Yes,
So it wasn't extremely high
No.
last year, okay.
No.
Okay, all right,
no, so by putting in the fuel station, our best guess with the fuel prices that we had at the time, we're gonna save approximately $27,000 a year by having our own fuel system.
okay, and does that include the maintenance contracts that you're gonna need?
Yep, and insurance and, yep, all those things
So
we
there's
had
a savings of 27,000
a year.
on average,
Yep.
based on what you're doing.
And again, based on, that price fluctuates every day.
Okay,
yeah.
and so that information is available in a document somewhere that we can get hold of?
I can supply it for the notes if you want it, yep.
That would be great.
Yep.
Thank you very much, I appreciate
Sure,
the information.
you're welcome, Linda.
Anybody else that has, would like to address the board?
Good evening.
Hi.
Ellen Robillard, 221 Hilltop Lane. I'd like to bring to your attention that a story was published on the DemocratChronicle.com this afternoon related to the situation with Mr. Wolf. In that article, it talks about a lawyer being obtained by certain employees to pursue a satisfactory outcome in this situation, which I commend them for doing that, taking that to their own hands. It shouldn't have ever gotten that far, but it has. In the article, Mr. Zale, you're quoted as saying, "If the district attorney would like to request information from the town will always comply." I'd like to ask you if you are sincere in that statement, and if asked, will you supply an unredacted copy of that report?
Well, first of all, what I would say is that this town shopped an unredacted report of that situation previously.
Shop to who?
To several agencies, one of which I'm sure if you've filed a FOIL request that you have a copy of from the Attorney General's office.
Is that the state attorney general?
Yes,
The state attorney general was very busy, so I get that, and you're right, you did, I agree. This is the county district attorney, Sandra
the State
Doyle's
Attorney
office.
General did not indicate that they were busy.
Okay.
They indicated that they would not
I
take
think
it.
that's probably common knowledge that they're busy.
I don't,
That being
not to
said,
me.
Sandra Doyley's office, the Monroe County District Attorney, is now looking into this. If asked, will you provide an unredacted copy of the report to that office?
I will always confer with our attorneys on that. When you say unredacted, what are you assuming is in the redactions?
I'm not making any assumption. What
Okay.
I'm going on is the reporting that says the report received by the Democrat and Chronicle was highly redacted, the same version the attorney sent to the DA's office. The town would have the unredacted version should the DA's office request it.
Redactions in general are due to protecting individuals who have come forward. It's also due to protecting what they call attorney-client privilege, which is usually their work notes that they put inside of a document. So, first of all, if the district attorney asks for something, I don't even know that we can say no in the first place. So to answer your question, of course, I'm sincere.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else that wishes to address the town board at this time?
I guess I'm up. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Chris Haig. I live at 3400 Brockport Spencerport Road. I'm here to just talk about the article that's in the D&C about Dorley's been asked to intervene in removing Ogden official Dan Wolf. I would like to tell you that these allegations, if they're true against Dan Wolf, are just disgusting. And they're a horrible reflection on the town of Ogden. which tends to be a predominantly white town. I have to believe these allegations are true because from my workplace experience, it's scary to blow in your supervisor or report up the hill. I never did it. I was afraid to, and I'm a white male. This is a bad reflection on the town. I wanted to tell you that I've seen town employees who look disheartened, and I could only think that maybe they're some of the people having to deal with this problem that's in the DNC related to Dan Wolf. I have 5 sisters. I would want them to be treated with respect in the workplace. One of my sisters is a police officer. One was a public school teacher. One was a social worker. One was an RN. Now she's a legal advisor to a doctor and owns her own business. These are real people who get really hurt by this kind of behavior. The other thing I wanted to tell you is Dan's a firefighter. This looks bad on firefighters. Our best firefighter we know is Dick Ziegler. He was a prince of a man. And the behavior you're showing, Dan, is just a dark spot on firefighters. The other thing I wanted to tell you is my 5 sisters and my wife and I all participated in the Fresh Air program. That's where you could get a black child from New York City and have them come out here to the suburbs for 2 weeks. We did that with a young man named Lewis. We did that for 11 years of his life. He credits us with saving his life. Lewis became a New York City firefighter. He's so ripped, they put him in their calendar on the front page. So when you're referring to people as the N-word, you're referring to our son, Lewis, who's a prince of a man. And the other thing I wanted to tell you was, during this time that he was here, we went to the Charcoal Corral in Perry, New York. We took a princess of a woman who was the school valedictorian. We took her to the Charcoal Corral. We went water skiing. We all ate our dinners, and she sat there. Her dinner never came. She's black. So racism is real. It hurts people. And she ended up leaving Johnson & Johnson. She went back to Georgia. I'm sure she just thought, I don't need to deal with this. So I just want you guys to know these are real people that get hurt. And I would encourage you to limit Dan's involvement in his workplace and monitor him carefully. Consider reducing his pay to encourage him to understand that this kind of behavior is unacceptable. And please cooperate fully with the Doherty investigation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that wishes to address the board at this time?
My name is Leslie Coffrin. I'm at 312 Village Walk Circle. Piggybacking on that, again, it's a dark spot on Spenceport and Ogden's image. I don't know if you remember several years back when we were asked if we would host some urban suburban students, and that there was an outspoken group of people who were opposed to it.
I remember because I was on the school board at the time.
It just sort of falls in that category. Again, I think it's really awful. We have an image problem, a really serious image problem. And the next question I wanted to ask, because I'm learning about this substation that we have to get, and one of the rationales is that the state won't always have enough gas for us to plow snow. How much snow did we get last year? And how much plowing did we have to do last year? And the year before that? And how much is expected this year? We're looking at a similar setup this year. I just think it's money that we're just pouring out when we could be utilizing other facilities. Not to mention the environmental risk that this poses for the town too. Because gasoline leaks are real. One of the largest gasoline leaks in New York State history was just in the 19th Ward in a gasoline holding facility. I know because it's in my backyard. I just think we pose also plays, I think, I don't know, I'm not a mathematician, but I think it's looking like we're posing an unnecessary burden, financial burden on taxpayers who are already overassessed on the value of their homes and had to fight for that to get it reduced. I mean, to plow snow? I mean, what's snow? I guess I just wanna make that point, that in this age of global warming, maybe we don't need to promote more gasoline consumption, but maybe we should just be a little more prudent in our use of gasoline and what our impact on the environment is. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, we will close the privilege of the floor. We'll move on to Resolution 226, Reports and Remittances.
So moved?
Second.
Moved by Councilman Toms, second by Councilman Baker. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, please. I'm sorry. Town Audits, Resolution 227.
So moved?
Second.
Moved by Councilman Toms, second by Councilman Hinman. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. There are no correspondence here, so we'll move into reports from town officers. First, I want to just say that there was a group of us that went to Gates Ambulance to give an award for Dr. Maya Dorsett, who won the Medical Director of the Year award, and joined my colleagues from Gates and from Parma, as well as the village mayor, and presenting this award. I also got a surprise visit from Lifetime Assistance. They just wanted to express their gratitude to the town, not only for the paths that were paved, but also for just rearranging the speed bumps at Heritage Park that will allow them and their residents to use it effectively. That was really actually a kind visit. We have been conducting additional interviews in the assessment office and in the police department for absences that have resulted there. I did have the opportunity to correspond with the county. They have, as I'm sure you've read, they've approved of $6 million in state local fiscal recovery funds, so basically ARPA funds for municipalities. They've actually approved two different $6 million pots. The one $6 million pot that is supposed to be for nonprofits is actually not just for anyone. It's in very targeted areas in the county. I actually don't believe that is available to the town of Ogden. But the other $6 million is divvied by population amongst all other towns in Monroe County. And so our portion would be available to be applied to youth or senior programs. And we've obviously responded because it's money. And we already have a list of things that we definitely have need for in both youth and senior programs. We are very deep in our department meetings regarding the budget. Awful lot of conversations there. And in work session after this, for anybody that's here, we're gonna have work session conversations, more of an opportunity to have open conversations, and it is still a public session, but it is a conversation of the board, where we'll kind of go through some of the bigger ticket items that are being requested of us, and that sort of directs myself and our finance director on where to go for that. A couple of the things that we can't really anticipate in specific detail is we do not have healthcare numbers yet. This is a great number, I love this. Anywhere from 9 to 23% increase, so that's super helpful. We also have New York State retirement costs that haven't come in, and then insurance costs between 15 and 20%. When we asked what sort of was driving this, and they actually said that there is an abundance of stolen vehicles that have attributed to everyone's premiums going up by 20%. So those are the bigger items that I have here. And so I will leave it at that. So, Councilman Baker.
The only thing I have is I participated in a Carnival Security Roundtable discussion on Monday night with Chief Gray, Pete Zambuto from our Special Police, Officer Richards from our police, also with East Rochester Police, Rush Fire, Hilton Fire, Mendon and Webster were invited but couldn't attend. Reason why we were all meeting was to discuss safety and security at our events throughout the county, given the disruptions that occurred this past year with our carnivals. And it was important that we had Ogden Police present to lend, their insight on things that we can improve for next year. East Rochester Police Chief was also present and expressed the same sentiments that Chief Gray did. So going into 2025, the Fireman's Carnival is going to look a little different. How it's going to look, we don't know yet, but it's definitely going to be a change for a lot of people to kind of get used to. And, we'll see what happens with that. But it's a problem that not only we had this year here in our town, but, you're going out as far as Rush, Hilton, East Rochester got a pretty good brunt of it, but, it's pervasive throughout the entire area. So we're trying to keep our guests safe. We're trying to keep our neighbors around us safe. So that was the focus of this meeting. So it was good to have those guys there with us.
I know Chief Gray obviously really appreciates that you've had more than one conversation on this. I mean, it's a fundraiser, but it's a fun event. It's supposed to be a fun event, and public safety number one, which is why the fire department and everybody came to that meeting. So I obviously really appreciate that everyone's trying to make it better every single year. So.
Well, and the challenge too is, you're looking at, departments, this is a fundraiser for them, and at some point, like with us this year, on the last night, we ended up having to double our security, which was a huge hit to the pocketbook. And a lot of these departments, if you're gonna start budgeting these things, at what point is, trying to take care of all that other stuff gonna outweigh or be outweighed by, the negative consequences of it. So, I know that there's a couple departments right now that are wrestling whether or not they are gonna have an event. They wanted to participate in this just to kind of get some ideas and see where everyone else is at. So, I wouldn't be surprised if you see next year that a couple of them don't do it, but we'll see what happens.
It's sad.
Yeah, it is sad. All right, that's it.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Chubino can't be with us tonight. Councilman Hinman.
Yeah, last week's zoning board meeting, briefly, we went over some things. We had a couple of variances for accessory structures, garages as well. A new precedent was set for more chickens in Acorn Valley Trail. But beyond that, we did go over the 4108 Canal Road issue with the trucking company. The board took a look at it. Many residents spoke up about the noise and the safety issues caused from the increased truck traffic. Although irrelevant to this application, several residents spoke in support of the character of the Huff family and Mr. Cervini, as well as their argument that all the parcels should be treated equally with a trucking use, not just the mine parcels. Mr. Gill, the owner of the trucking company, said he hauls only about 1 to 4 trucks of sand a day for the mine, which when you look at all the trucks over there, that doesn't equate to how many trucks he has over there. So the long and the gist was that the board did deny them access or the right to continue doing that. So they've been told that they have to remove those trucks. So.
As I understand it, the ZBA did not limit any function of the mine that's been there for a million years.
They didn't do anything, didn't touch anything to do with the mine.
This is, okay, so this
It was
is only
strictly-
addressing the new business that they were trying to operate.
Yes, because they were saying that the trucking that they're doing now equates to what they've always done, and the facts, the history doesn't point that out.
I just know that I saw some people sort of commenting like you're taking away this business, been here forever, but that's not
No,
being
and that,
touched at
and that
all.
was something that they actually brought up. They
Okay.
said, we do not want to limit anybody's ability to make a living in Ogden. What we don't wanna do is we don't want to have someone come in and take advantage of a situation and then all of a sudden our residents have to deal with all this activity. So, Mr. Servini's a nice guy. He used to have his operations out in, Henrietta, I believe. But he just thought it'd be a good opportunity to come out this way. He wanted to live in Ogden, so I understand that, but the problem is he did a great job cleaning up the facility over there, but now we're dealing with all this truck traffic, and our residents in Adams Basin, we're noticing that there's all this increased traffic was really causing problems for people, so. And when we nailed down on what was going on, all that increased activity was not equating to what he was saying was happening, so. So that's what the board took that stance and they denied them.
Okay.
Hey, Josh, could you talk a little bit about the chicken stuff? It comes up, and it
Yeah.
comes up, and it comes up, and it seems as though every time the ZBA meets, there's a chicken on the agenda, right? And I'm wondering,
Like an actual chicken,
Yeah.
we're not saying names.
they grant the special use or whatever it is. Is it time to look at the code and think, we did it with fences, right?
No,
But
I believe,
And where are these properties, forget it, I think in order to have a chicken, chickens, you have to have a certain amount of acres.
5 acres,
So these properties obviously are not 5 acres.
correct.
Where are they? What's,
Well, this instance, it was over on, sorry.
Acorn Valley.
Yep, thank you, Acorn Valley. So it's a tight neighborhood, but this one resident had a second lot behind, and he had all this wood lot behind, and so that was what the board's rationale as to why they'd allowed him to do it. Of course, while he was talking about it, another neighbor came to say that he supported him doing it, and they said, oh, we have chickens too. So it's like, people, they don't ask for permission, they just do it. But when somebody actually comes before the board, they actually did what they could do. They limited them, so the guy had like 20 chickens. They made him commit to cutting that down to 6.
So I had a resident pull a really smart but kind of diabolical move on this recently, in that they had their 4th grade daughter write me a letter with pictures, which I thought was really mean-spirited because it was really cute and I had to pay attention to it. And essentially, I think they lived on a 3-acre lot, and the thing was, where this is, the 2 houses were really close together, and then the lot was pretty big. And one of the things that I said is, you have this opportunity to appeal the code to the board, and that's sort of a great process. But I also offered this. In the town of Ogden, there are areas that everybody would know based on the code that you can go and have chickens. And likewise, I think there's space in town where everybody knows you can't have chickens. You might also pick a spot where you can't have chickens because you don't want anyone around you to have chickens. So, and that goes for piglets. Oh, she wanted piglets, not chicken, sorry. But at the same time, we understand that people use the code not to just find what they can do, but to find where their neighbors might not be able to do something, so that it isn't, neighbors kind of against each other. It's like, this is a neighborhood, we don't want that here. So if that's a topic that the board would like to take up, we have addressed other code that's been around for a very long time that could have been looked at. Maybe we do a comparison to other towns and villages.
I don't know, it comes up a lot.
Yeah.
It certainly does.
I think
Comes up a lot.
that addition to the code is fairly new. It's not been there for 15 years or 10 years, and I think the consensus was that 5 acres was a
Pretty good.
huge parcel and could accommodate chickens, and if there was someone who thought were able to accommodate chickens and their neighbors, could appeal to the board, and I guess that's why we have that board, and the board weighs each of those applications separately, and apparently they sort of, they didn't split the baby, but they indicated that they would like to see a fewer number of chickens, given the proximity of adjoining properties, and that's what they granted.
And that's the benefit of the ZBA, is they can look at that and say, yes, but, and then draw that as opposed to a blanket yes.
Yeah, I don't think you're ever gonna redraft the code if you look at it today and address the variation issue or the variance issue any better than what we have presently. And the board has done, I think we have some very common sense people on the board who look at, they weigh the detriment to the neighborhood as opposed to the benefit to the applicant, and that's what the statute says.
And what's great about the ZBA is because a lot of people come out, a lot of the residents come out, and so when you see that many people getting involved in the process, that's a good thing. And so, and if a whole neighborhood shows up in support of this one applicant, then it's gonna cause the board to kind of say, well, maybe we'll be a little lenient here, so it's a good process.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Josh. Sorry for letting the meeting run afoul.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Okay, Councilman Toms.
No report.
Okay, very good. Dan Wolf, Highway
No report.
Superintendent. Noel Burley, Town Clerk.
We are extremely busy collecting school taxes. There's a lot of upset people, and the assessor's office is doing a great job explaining everything.
Taxes being collected, or which one?
The school taxes.
School tax, thank you.
Yeah, these are school taxes.
Very good. Okay, Dan Shum, Town Attorney.
There is a resolution tonight to hold a public hearing on the regulation and location of smoke shops within the town. This has been the genesis of 3 or 4 different drafts. Chief of Police has been involved, the building department's been involved, supervisor's office as well. So there's been a lot of input into this proposed local law. It started back, I think, in April or March, when we were having some mechanical issues with the availability of marijuana and other paraphernalia adjacent to school districts and in various locations within the town. It has quieted down quite a bit in terms of the police being more active, and the sheriff's department, and also the New York State regulatory authorities. But this law is intended to allow those facilities to exist, but on a regulated activity and in certain geographical locations within the town. Been working with the County of Monroe Law Department. We have what we call the Veterans Memorial Park in front of Fowler's Liquor Store. It was originally part of the old Brockport-Spencerport Road. Those of us who are old enough remember Matthew's Ice Cream on the corner, and the fact that 31 did not go straight through the light toward Brockport. Come to find out, when that road was redesigned, what is now the Veterans Park was part of the county right-of-way and is now presently owned by the county. The village has leased the property to the town, neither of whom have actually any authority to have that there. And the county is now researching actually conveying it to the town so that the town can improve the Veterans Park. We've had some funds available to upgrade the Veterans Park. And we finally got the ear of the county law department to look into this, so I'm hopeful that that will move forward. There's a resolution tonight to approve a change order to complete the mansard roof on the cupola in the front of the town hall. Those of you who have come here tonight, it's quite attractive, and it's gonna last a long, long time. And lastly, there's a bid award tonight for equipment needed for the highway department. That's it.
I want to go back to 2 things, sorry. First, the vape shop, we're going to have a public hearing on it. Tonight's resolution is to set that public hearing. We'll talk more about it but I just want to reiterate, we had a meeting with seniors at Spencerport High School last year, and the students were very honest in saying that nearly 40% of the student body has access and uses vape of one sort of the other. The purpose of this is to hold places accountable for selling illegally. That really is it. I mean, we're not adding a new restriction or something like that. It's to hold these places accountable for the fact that they are breaking the law. And instead of holding the 21-year-old clerk that's making the minimum wage accountable, we want to hold the business accountable. And that's what this is doing, with the goal of reducing access to vape, marijuana to people that are underage. I will say that we've worked in collaboration with surrounding towns, because it doesn't work if they can go across the street to another town and get it. And we found a great amount of success with this. Veterans Park, this came about because we tried applying for a grant to expand the Veterans Park to include basically everything after Vietnam, because this board believes very strongly in not just supporting our veterans, but also in commemorating the fact that they gave the service to the country, to our town. And so we want to expand that and make sure that everybody gets the recognition that they deserve. And lo and behold, we don't own it. And that was a realization. And so we cannot apply for a grant until we do. So that's why we're looking into that. The only other thing that I forgot to mention is that we do have two pretty big fundamental policy updates that the board is looking at to promote families, but also to keep and retain highly, I would say, effective personnel here. And so tonight we are looking to adopt a parental leave policy that the town would be brand new to the town. And equally, we're going to have a conversation with the board in work session about a health insurance opt-out policy that would be brand new as well. So now that's it. Okay, thank you. There being no other unfinished business, we're going to move into new business. Resolution 228.
So moved.
Madam Clerk. So,
Resolution 228, authorizing the acceptance of donation from Spencerport Wesleyan Church to the Ogden Police Department in the amount of $100.
So moved.
Second.
moved by Councilman Hinman, second by Councilman Baker. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, please.
Resolution 229, to schedule a public hearing for local law number 5 of the 2024, a local law of the Town of Ogden adding chapter 245 to the Town of Ogden Code to adopt regulations for the establishment and conduct of smoke shops within the Town of Ogden.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Councilman Baker, seconded by Councilman Toms. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, please.
Resolution 230, negative declaration of environmental significance for Phase 1 of the Buffalo Road Park Development Project.
I'll move that.
Second?
Moved by Councilman Hinman, seconded by Councilman Toms. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, please.
Resolution 231, awarding Alta Equipment Company for the bid for the furnishing of a new vibratory screen with conveyor for the use by the Town of Ogden Highway Department in accordance with the bid specifications at the accepted bid price of $84,000.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Baker, seconded by Councilman Toms. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, please.
Resolution 232, authorizing the Town of Ogden Highway Department to sell equipment at public auction that has been determined to be no longer needed for its use.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Baker, seconded by Councilman Hinman. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, please.
Resolution 233, authorizing Ogden Town Supervisor Mike Sale to execute a change order for the replacement of the Ogden Community Center cupola roof.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Councilman Hinman, seconded by Councilman Toms. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, please.
Resolution 234, authorizing the adoption of a parental leave policy to be added to the Town of Ogden's personnel handbook.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Baker, seconded by Councilman Hinman. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, please.
Resolution 235, authorizing the appointment of Jeanette Vogler to the position of full-time provisional assessment clerk for the Town of Ogden Assessor's Office.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Tom, seconded by Councilman Baker. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, please.
Authorizing a budget transfer associated with the purchase of lateral filing cabinets in the Town of Ogden Highway Department.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Baker, seconded by Councilman Toms. Any discussion?
Not horizontal.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. I'm going to make a motion that we move to work session.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Toms. All those in favor?
Aye.